Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this Monday morning with Business Coach Moloy. And we are in the system in the series of scaling. Over the past 6 weeks, we have looked at multiple areas. But today, on this very candid conversation with you, this is where most businesses struggle. So on episode 7, we are going to cover, or I'm going to share, how building teams is extremely essential so that they can scale. And this happens when your business starts growing faster than your people. Sometimes this is too personal. Think about all those people who have been with you for the last 10, 15 years. The ones that stood beside you when the business was small, the ones that traveled with you, the ones that celebrated your first big order, the ones who believed in your dream long before everyone else did. I know this is a huge emotional connect with all of them. But now ask a very simple question. Can all/anyone take this business to the next stage? Now, before you answer, I want you to think something very carefully. Because this is not a question of loyalty, this is not a question of commitment, this is not a question about honesty, it's a question of capability. And many, many entrepreneurs that I've met often struggle with this distinction. A few years ago, I was with an entrepreneur whose business had grown almost 4 times in 6 years. Wonderful growth. The company had expanded to new markets. The team had grown significantly, but he looked disturbed. And after a long silence, he said something very quietly, Moloy, I think my business has become bigger than my team. The same people who helped me build this business are now struggling to manage the business that we have become. And he looked at me and asked one of the most painful questions an entrepreneur can ever ask. Does that mean I have to replace that very people who stood by me during the difficult times? Ladies and gentlemen, there is no honest answer. Because when the business was small, loyalty often compensates for capability. Everyone helps everyone. People wear multiple hats. People learn together. People grow together. The atmosphere is informal. Energy fills the gaps. But as the businesses become larger, the game changes. Customers expect consistency. Systems become important, leadership becomes important, decision making becomes important, and suddenly experience is no longer enough. There's nothing wrong with loyal employees. In fact, they're the foundation of many businesses. The problem begins actually when entrepreneurs assume that loyalty automatically becomes readiness for the next stage. And honestly, it doesn't. The business changes, the role changes, expectation changes, and unless people continue in growing, the gap between the business and the team starts becoming visible. And unfortunately, the vast majority of population in today's world, or even in the world in the times gone by, they refuse to invest in self-growth. Think back about your journey. The entrepreneur you are today is a very different from the entrepreneur you were 10 years ago. You have learned new things. You have invested in learning. You have gone and met a lot of people, which has meant that you have started thinking differently. You have started making decisions differently. You understand the business differently. You have evolved. Now ask this of yourself. How many of your critical employees have evolved at the same pace? Or have they remained successful at yesterday's level? Because entrepreneurs are now comparing or confusing familiarity with capability. And this is completely natural. You trust those people you have worked for years. You know their families, you know their struggles, you know how much they have sacrificed. But the question that you need to ask at this point in time, and it's a very difficult question, it's a very uncomfortable question, can this person lead the business that we are becoming? Notice the question, it is not is this person a good person, not it is a loyal person, but the question is, can this person successfully lead the next chapter of my organization? The reality is businesses don't outgrow opportunities. They outgrow capability. The market is ready, the customers are ready, products are ready, founder is ready. Leadership capability hasn't grown fast enough. And suddenly growth starts slowing, not because of demand, but because the organization cannot absorb more complexity. Every business has three types of people. The first group keeps growing. They're curious, they learn, they ask questions, they seek feedback, they embrace change. And these are the people that, as an entrepreneur, you need to deeply invest in. Then there is a second group of people that are dependable, they do their job well, they're committed, they're comfortable, they don't resist growth, they simply don't pursue it either. They continue contributing, but they don't expand their capability. The challenge for an entrepreneur is to making sure that they are in the roles that match their strengths. And then there is the third group, people who quietly resist change. Every new process becomes a problem, every new idea becomes unnecessary, every improvement becomes an inconvenience. They constantly grow today with yesterday. We have always done it this way. This is how we have worked for years. Now imagine trying to build a growing organization with that mindset. It is absolutely impossible. The greatest responsibility of an entrepreneur is not to build a successful business. It is building successful people. Because businesses don't become extraordinary because of products. They become extraordinary because ordinary people are given opportunities to become extraordinary leaders. And this does not happen accidentally. It requires intention, it requires coaching, it requires patience, it requires difficult conversations. When the founders themselves become very busy, development becomes the first casualty. We continue reviewing performance, but we stop developing capability. We continue evaluating people, but we stop coaching people. We continue expecting growth, but we stop investing in growth. And after 2 or 3 years, we become disappointed because we say the team has not grown. Perhaps the better question would be, how much did I spend in helping them grow? Promotion is not a development. And this is something that I've seen consistently. A good performer gets promoted immediately without preparation, without leadership development, without coaching, and suddenly an excellent individual contributor becomes an average manager, not because they lack talent, but because they never prepared for the transition. Leadership is a completely different capability, and it must be developed deliberately. Today, let me leave you with one thought. People don't grow because businesses grow. People grow because someone intentionally helps them grow. And that someone is leadership. And the leadership is ultimately the founder. As always, I want to leave behind a reflection for this week. I want you to think about your leadership team and ask 4 questions. Who has grown significantly over the last 3 years? Who has remained exactly the same? Who has the potential to lead the next phase of business? And finally, what am I doing every month to help my leaders become better leaders? Because your business will rarely grow beyond the capability of the people leading it. So, where do we go next? We are on our 7th episode. We have 24 episodes in this series. So, there's a lot more content that we'll be speaking about. In the next episode, we are going to discuss something that every entrepreneur experiences, but very few understand: the emotional exhaustion of leadership. Why successful entrepreneurs sometimes become emotionally drained even when the business is doing well. why decision fatigue increases, why carrying everyone's expectations become overwhelming, and most importantly, how leaders protect their energy without reducing their commitment. And I personally believe that this will be one of the most personal conversations that I'll have with you in this entire series. Final thoughts for today. Your business does not become bigger because more people join. It becomes bigger when more people become capable of carrying bigger responsibilities. Scaling is not about increasing headcount. Scaling is about increasing leadership capability. And every entrepreneur who understands this builds a much larger organization and a much stronger organization. On this wet and windy morning in Mumbai, I wish you a very happy week, a very successful week, and I shall see you on the other side, same place, same time. Till then, God bless, take care, and keep rocking.